I want to ask you some questions about the experience. Again, we had some technical issues we will also discuss about. Not if it was good or bad, but more how it made you feel in a certain way. Yeah, so the first thing I want to know is why did you choose the character you were playing? Any reason behind?
Yeah, I just like that word of brave.
Sorry.
There was a brave.
Brave?
Yes.
Okay, so that's you.
Yes.
Okay, how about you?
Well, I like Ilham to be comfortable, so I just let her choose.
Okay, and Vlado.
And maybe a little bit similar reasoning because they were very clear that they want the blue and the red. And I also like being different. So, and it was the only character that was different.
I see. Interesting. Guys, I want to know what was the experience about from whatever perspective. Narrative, from the perspective of maybe some play. How did it feel for you? Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I couldn't follow the story at all because it is kind of my personality that when I'm playing, I would like to do it by myself instead of someone just commanding me, and it was just something on my nerve. And I wanted to go around by my decision, and I really enjoyed the second word, which was the game, and I wish that there was more of this to follow his action, but yeah.
So you would have, that's bad English. You would have preferred to explore on your own.
Yes.
Not follow the sequence.
No, I'm just a kind of exploring around. Yeah.
Okay. How was it for you?
For me, if you ask generally about the story, at first I was really intrigued because I like mythology and these archetypes, and it really seemed to me like a story that's set in prophecy and that's bound to always play out based on some divine prophecy. So it's a little bit maybe a cross between the Legend of Zelda, all of these, there's always a Link, always a Ganon, or also something like Lord of the Rings. Again, that some ancient archetypes are awakening. So I like that very much. At the same time, it was, especially as the game went on, hard for me to connect what I was experiencing with the world. It had to be really a struggle. I had to imagine myself being in the world, which of course is, I guess, part of the goal. But I think part of the design of the game took me out of it because there was too much to pay attention to. There was the audio in my headphones, and then I should have also interacted with the others in some way, and I didn't know what to pay attention to, whether to the physical aspects of it or the audio or like interacting with the others. So that was the hindrance in experiencing the prophecies to play out.
Okay. How about you? What was this about for you?
It was about to have fun with Elham and Vlado, but I'm opposite of Elham. I enjoyed that I was following instructions and I was, it was clear for me what needs to be done, but when the button did the opposite of what I clicked, that annoyed me and I didn't like it so much, and that's when I started not to enjoy it in the game. And also in this world where Elham had fun, I didn't have fun at all because I lost, and I there was a second round with which we didn't even
The second
play.
round didn't happen.
Yeah, and I was frustrated by that because I didn't get the chance to win.
Do you remember what was the fail question? Like you wanted to decide something. What was that?
Yes, that I would go courageously into that, and instead it shows that I was choosing discomfort and the opposite of that. So,
Okay.
and then also like what he said, that at that point it was just a lot of things happening at once, and the audio and not being able to follow what was going on. So that kind of took the fun a little bit out of it. And of course losing as well.
Yeah, you don't like to
I don't like it.
So they're talking about this kind of frustration. I was wondering if you experienced the same.
Yeah, sometimes it was just kind of, I was needed to focus on several things at the same time, and I was worried that why they are not working. You know, the thing is that I just wanted to explore everything at first, so that's from the.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I want to know. We already mentioned some, but I would like to delve deeper into the specific things that you enjoy, and the specific things that were frustrating. We talked about like too many stuff to pay attention. Anything else, either to enjoy or to frustrate you?
Okay, so maybe I'll start. What I liked was that, especially in the beginning, but actually throughout the game, it was you could imagine the world. You could imagine the vast, landscape of the world. What would have been better is if the board, if all of the physical aspects were a little bit larger, so you can imagine it. So you are not cramped. There are 3 people, what I didn't like then actually was one of the important aspects, I think maybe for you or the creators of the game, is actually controlling the characters. I think this whole world and the games and the story could be experienced just doing it with your hands, I think. And so of course there will have to be modifications, but it didn't do too much for me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. Because I really like that body, and it was just floating by my fingers, and there were a lot of options that I could do. For example, movement, just those 2 buttons and the heart or something like that. But something just bothered me was that I haven't had the feedback. So I wasn't sure that am I doing right, and that's why I was always just looking at you to see
my face by the feedback.
To get the feedback. So I needed some kind of feedback, like some vibrations, because the lights feedback wasn't enough, because for several stages I thought that it will happen. So I was like this, that am I missing something? Maybe I haven't. And most of the time I was just looking at my lights to see if there's something I need to do.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the biggest frustration for me.
Okay, I see.
I like the music. That was really good to have it in between, because it's breakdancing, so it makes sense. And I also like the fact that there that I follow some steps, and then that I could make choices, and I have the consequences of choices. So that was really fun for me. What I didn't like was that I didn't interact with any of them. So we were each of us in our own world, listening to the audio at different level, like different speeds. So I would be waiting, and so the fun part would be that if we were doing the whole game together and we all were listening to the same thing together, that's something that I didn't like, that we didn't enjoy the group activity.
So let me piggyback on that. Did you feel that need to kind of interact with each other?
Yeah.
What kind of stuff would you have wanted to do?
I agree with her that I prefer to listen to same thing, because I could be sure about that, am I doing right or not. And those parts that were so close, like hugging, it was so nice, and I really like it. And maybe some more voice feedbacks like this, that you are recharging together like this, or something like that could be more.
Okay.
Yeah, especially between our both characters, that we are supposed to be a team, so it was morally.
I think if everybody heard the same thing, the same narrative, it would really connect us, because then we would know, okay, the other person is not listening to something else, so now I can talk to them, so. And it would be also technically easier, because you could just play it, with a speaker.
So just to go back into that same question, in certain way, each one of you experienced 1/3 of the story, right? Was that enough for you, or you guys are mentioning it would have been nice to know everyone's story? How do you feel, or how did you feel not knowing what was going on with her or with you? knowing only your part?
It was a bit boring. Like I could have a better experience if I knew what was going on with all of us, and then we could later on like know what we're talking about when we talk about this. Like we would say, "Oh, you said that. Oh, you said that." You know, it would be more fun, and for me it would be like less of it would be more of a group activity that we could enjoy together instead of just being on my own in my own world while doing a group activity. It just felt it felt like the opposite of what it should be.
Okay. How do you guys feel?
This is maybe a little bit contradictory to what I said earlier, that there should be the same thing that everybody hears, but I actually did like the aspect that everybody got a different point of view with the story, and that there is more going on than your experience and your imagination then runs. It's again a little bit, I'm using I don't have too much let's say vocabulary of comparisons, but again, Lord of the Rings would be a good comparison, that you know that you're only experiencing a little part of this huge vast rich world, and this is your point of view into this world. So maybe there is really very good intriguing potential for that.
What do you think?
Because I couldn't follow the story at all, so that's why I can comment on that. But I was thinking that, I don't have any idea in this part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me kind of reshape the question. So the three of you know each other. Let's say up to a certain point you're friends. What if it wasn't Vlado or Elham, but some other two strangers? Would you have had that urge to kind of know their story and kind of connect with them more? How would you feel about that?
I would feel awkward.
Awkward. Why?
Because it would be like if I'm with the strangers, I would still want to connect to those strangers. So at least with Ilham, I know Ilham more than Vlado. I just
we just met, but I think there is a good chance we will be friends from now on. So I think
good.
Never know.
Yeah. But at least with Ilham, like we share glances and we make some nice. we smile to each other, and also the characters that we chose makes it that we were supposed to be on the same team. So that was something important for me to have in any social social situation, that I connect with others. And if it's with strangers and we're each on our own world, then it would be awkward for me that it's not that we don't talk more than we just listen to our own things.
How do you feel about that? Not being Elham or Umayma, but whatever other people.
I agree with it. Because at least both of us have known Elham before, so we know we're kind of the same blood type. So it would be really different if we were complete strangers.
Okay. Would you feel the same?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Yeah, because I feel that always the games are icebreakers for me. So I would like to try someone strangers, and it seems.
Okay. Let's focus on the puppets. I want to know, how would you describe them? Either on the way you play, the way you interacted, the way you used them. What were they? Uncomfortable. In what sense? Physically uncomfortable?
Yeah, physically uncomfortable. Because my fingers are pretty short, so I was often playing with it, making sure that it stays there. So it was uncomfortable and a bit distracting to be sure if you're holding them correctly.
Okay. Any other way that you can describe them? Okay. How about you, Vlad?
I think they were also they were a little bit awkward, even though I think a lot of thought went into it. Still, it was a little bit uncomfortable to do certain movements, especially interacting with others and touching the symbols. I can understand what they're going for. So you can kind of imagine you're in the avatar of the of the character, it didn't really do too much for me. It was more of a hindrance than a vehicle through which I would enjoy the game.
Okay. Elham,
It was uncomfortable but cute.
cute. What was cute about it?
I feel connectedness with with that.
Connectedness.
Yes,
Okay.
and I have feeling about it. But it was so cute, even so it was a kind of uncomfortable for me as well.
Let me try to go a little bit deeper. So, connectedness in what sense, or to what?
I felt myself in that things, and it was kind of playing with that. I don't know how to say. Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
pretty clear to me. I don't know if you guys want to add anything else about the puppets.
No, I just felt opposite. So.
You feel that?
I'm your friend.
Oh, like you guys are black and white.
Because that's why we're friends.
We should think about it.
That's always good. So one thing that I'm trying to look here, it's from the perspective of how we tell the story. If you've noticed, the audio usually referred to you as performer, or it asks you to do something through your character, like move your character to this place or perform and do this other thing. I want to know what's your feeling about being called performer or being addressed to the character.
You mean being called a performer?
Yeah. Does it have any meaning to you? Makes it different in any way on how you experience the story?
No, because I was performing a role.
You were performing. Okay. Go ahead.
To me, I kind of, again, I was trying to look at it from this intellectual level. I know what the authors were going for, that you're kind of looking at the story and you're experiencing this myth come into life. At the same time, if it's a game, you want the character to be you. Like, you know, when you control a character in a video game and the character dies, you don't say, the BJ Blazkowicz died. You say, I died, or I did this. So it would be maybe a little bit better if, like, you, the yellow character, did this. So I was a little bit ambivalent about it.
Okay. Let me go back to you. So what it means to be the performer?
I think it also connects to the fact that I didn't feel connected at all to the game. That's why when being called a performer felt normal, because I felt like I was performing. The puppet was not comfortable. It felt like I was moving cardboard, so I am not the cardboard, so I couldn't connect like I'm to it. So to be called performer, that made sense. But I still was mad that the performer did not win. So I was not happy about that.
Yeah. Performer, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mentioned that I prefer to have my freedom to make decisions and everything, and the voice just seems like someone instructing me to do this, and it just makes me feel stressed and
Okay. You mentioned that you enjoyed the music. What role do you think the music had in your experience?
It was the only thing that connected me with the original story, that it's a breakdancer, because the only time that because there was no breakdancing, for me the breakdancing experience was, I didn't even know what we were doing. So the music was fun in that sense, that it reminded me that these guys are breakdancers, and that it also was in between this, it's like, when you're playing and then you're moving from place to place, it's like play this music. So it was a nice, and I don't like silence. I like to have something, so the music was nice too. To have some fun.
Music, how was it for you?
Yeah, at the first time, for a long time, I haven't had any instruction, and I had the music, and it was so good, And I was thinking that if it was based on the music, then instruction, it was more fun.
Okay. Any opinion about?
I barely heard the music. Actually, you mean the music was coming from the characters?
Let's say we had two musics, right? One that you could hear on your earphones, and one that you can hear on the circle thing.
Okay, I don't even remember if anything was playing in the earphones. Maybe I remember some sound effects, wind blowing, and then I heard from from one of the girls' characters there was like hip hop music or something like that. So I heard it by accident actually. So I didn't really perceive the music.
Okay. So in general, how the narrative felt for you, the way the story was told, how did it feel for you? We know that you're a rebel, like you don't like to be told instructions. The tone, the rhythm, the words, the descriptions, anything that you enjoy, anything that you didn't enjoy, any comment in that regard?
I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember so much the tone, or if it was like more of a robot sound, but I think it was not a very. The voice was not like of a narrative of a game. Like usually, it goes with like there's a personality behind the voice, and you could hear the personality, and so that was something that was missing. It felt like just that. So that was something maybe that that's what I would say about the voice, the narrative.
Let me try to go deeper. So, this voice that you feel is kind of, how would you describe it in terms of how does it make you feel?
It didn't captivate me, and it didn't help immerse in the experience. So I think that's also one part why I didn't feel the connectedness. It wasn't just. It was planned. This is what happened, and this is what happened, and that's basically it. Like it would be better if there were more, I don't know, like more storytelling into it. It was just like really, just the level 1 of the storytelling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vlado, your experience with the narrative or the narration, either as the way it's told or the way it's, let's call it written, or the way it's put to you, any opinion?
Okay, I agree actually with everything she said. The one of the things that took away from the experience was it was clearly a robot, reading it, and it was a little bit stale and non-human. Also, some words were incorrectly pronounced. It's clear that maybe it thought it's a different word. So that took me a little bit from it. If it was, a professional, if Stephen Fry was reading it or something, so it would be much better. That would really make a difference. That really listening to some fairy tale, some storybook. And then, if there was a little bit more backstory, I actually assumed the game would be longer. Of course, there wasn't the second round of the dance, but anyway, if it took its time a little bit more, it would be a little bit more immersed, I guess.
Okay. This is going to sound pretty obvious, but I want to know if the experience required you to be more concentrated, and in what way were you trying to be more concentrated or not? From other words, like, was this hard to experience?
I wouldn't say hard, but I would just say that it could have been better because it needed some kind of concentration with the voices, and also figuring out that you're putting the puppet correctly, and as well as while I was asking a question, I didn't hear a part of the narrative, so that was something that made it not as enjoyable as it should be.
Okay. How about you guys?
If I could repeat, for example, the story, because it is really gets me a lot of energy to focus on this and that. So if I could repeat the story or just listening carefully.
And I agree basically with the same thing, that there was a little bit too much going on for us to pay attention.
What would have been the perfect or a better way to do this?
I feel more feedbacks.
More feedback.
More feedbacks, because when we were, for example, standing there for the dancing, I felt that all of us are just seeing each other, and we don't know what we should do. So maybe a tutorial based before, more tutorial time or around before the main game. And yeah, I would like to have more feedbacks, for example, if I'm doing this right or something like that.
So do you imagine like voice telling you, oh, you did good, or you did this, or
Not voice.
not voice?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Something, for example, two different color of, for example, green and red.
Uh-huh.
So if the color is turned on, then you know that it
Okay.
is true.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Vlado, how about you?
I think I already said it in the beginning.
Mhm.
But maybe it's pouring out the baby with the bathwater. But I would kill the puppets.
Yeah.
I would just do it as a board game.
Uh-huh.
Maybe enhanced,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
a little bit simpler.
Okay.
For me as well, like as I said before, to have a common experience, a joint experience with everyone, and to have more of the fun of a social situation where
Mhm.
I interact with people,
Mhm.
and also that I know what's happening and what's going on. So
Mhm.
to not have to focus on the what's going on in the ear
Mhm.
and the puppet that's not following what I need to do. So
I see.
yeah.
Okay. Just a quick game or play. So I would like for you guys to complete this sentence with whatever comes to your head. Using this puppet, it's like what?
It's like trying to make a cat walk. I don't know.
A catwalk. How so?
You know, like taking a cat and then doing this.
Oh,
one.
a catwalk.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like a catwalk.
No, making a cat
Uh-huh.
walk.
What do you mean by that?
Because it was hurting my hand a bit, so like a cat would scratch your back and
Okay.
not cooperate with you. So instead, it was not cooperative, and I was trying to force it to
Okay.
do the
Okay.
steps of a human while it's not acting as a human.
All right. Vlado.
I think it's like using chopsticks for the first time if you're not Asian.
Okay.
I don't know why curiosity came to my mind. Curiosity.
Curiosity. In what sense?
That it was just wanted to go and just because of that kind of walking, I
Mhm.
thought that it is going to exploring more, stepping on the
Mhm.
circle, stepping on those things to recognize the pattern
Mhm.
if it's on the right place.
So, Vlado, at the beginning, you sort of mentioned, like you used Zelda and Lord of the Rings kind of as an example of what the experience could be or what the story could be. I was wondering if you guys, as a whole, if you would compare it to something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would compare it to some kind of video game, yeah,
Mhm.
because like I didn't play Zelda, but I played Elden Ring, so
Mhm.
it was something like that. Like you have a mission, and the fact that I can choose, make a choice and have a consequence. That's fun. What I like about these video games is to do that and then come back and then do the other choice and see what could happen.
So you love to explore like
Yeah.
all of the options.
And I'm a kind of biased because I'm working on these playful storytelling approaches,
Mhm.
and in my mind it's just going to compare it with the other things
Okay.
that I read. So yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of biased.
And I would also maybe compare it to maybe not a specific work, but this like from Japanese manga and anime, like mecha stories
Mhm.
with this big mechanical robots that often like they are set in these stories that combine mythology and like some futuristic elements. And I'm not too much of a fan of this genre, but I'm familiar enough with it that I think there could be some similar or maybe some cross inspiration.
I see. Okay, guys, why don't we go here to the back? I would like to start a little bit of discussion about the spaces, what it means to you. So, what is this?
Um, I liked actually one point that I liked is when I came here and then I could actually peer into the yellow universe. So I like this little door here that made it clear that I was in my little bubble here, and blue was exploring somewhere in their universe, and then the yellow was the danger was closely coming down the stairs. So that was fun to see actually here.
Okay.
Yeah.
An interpretation to this, Elham? Or to this, or to that in the back?
This is like the stage for me, and the rest, no, unfortunately.
Okay.
To me, it's like a representation of this vast world. Like, this is supposed to be a mountain, and the yellow character walk up there, and those characters are sort of gods, you know. I imagine there are little actual Homo sapiens people living here, but these ancient gods live. So it's just like the Mount Olympus in Greece, you know, in Greek mythology. It was, you know, Greeks, they were like worshipped the gods, but they also were afraid of them, and you are one of them. So you live there and you can go down, and there are these other like semi-divine characters like this, some ancient person, and you interact with them, and this whole cosmic godly drama is happening there while people here in the lowlands live their regular life, and you come and steal their fruit and eat their fruit. So this, I don't know what it is, but this is maybe some sort of urban center. Maybe I also didn't interact too much with this part as my character.
Shapes, colors, do you give an interpretation to that? Textures, patterns?
I think the triangle is like very sharp, so it makes sense with the villain. The round shape for the hero is really soft and caring, so it makes sense, the round shape. And the square one is for some, I don't know, square is like really typical and fits in the square, so it's like somewhere where it's normal, somewhere where it's people, where the, goes with, like he said, this is where the norm, where the most people are live, something like that.
And I'm curious to know what are these things, because from the first I was just looking at this, but okay, maybe yes.
What do you think? What's your interpretation of this?
I thought that maybe it is just, for example, the name of or the properties of the area.
Yeah, that was pretty much. It was simply describing, because if you remember, I don't know if you remember, but usually like, oh, you know, like the villain is coming from the high, or you know, you were walking around the outside and whatnot. So it's kind of to signpost a location. We haven't talked much about here. What happened here?
This was very disappointing.
How so?
Because I thought that we would continue here, and because we lost there for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have a second round, and then I thought that we would have some other chance here to win or something, but it ended up just being told that, yeah, you lost, so that's it.
Yeah, because I feel that he wins first, and that's why we lost.
Yeah, but I think it was only because of the dance that I was randomly touching the tile.
Let's see. We cover a lot of stuff. So friends, we already spoke about that. I think that's pretty much everything. I don't know if you guys have any final remarks, any comments, anything that you want to share with me about your experience.
Yeah, you know, like this is really the fun part is when I could like look from here and see the
I personally think it's really intriguing. As a prototype, it's really interesting. I think for mass appeal, it has shortcomings that we already mentioned. But I'm really intrigued by the world building aspect of it.
Nice. Do you have any final remarks or?
could be more fun.
Could be more fun. What would make it fun to you? So not losing, I think that goes really high on the list.
First part.
What else will make it fun for you?
That it's more, that it could be more clear, like, because as I said, I was in my world and their world, and it was hard to have like a sense of what is going on in general. So it would be more fun if we all had the same kind of the same. I see your point of saying that it makes sense that it makes you reflect. When you mention it, it does make you reflect that you can live in your own world and there's a lot of things going on outside of your world. But as a game, like, I want to interact with others and I want to have the same experience as them and you know what's going on, and also the technical part also made it less less fun.
Do you think it would be different if instead of earphones or headphones, I think someone mentioned like a speaker or something, or would that be better having like this shared audio for everyone?
Yeah, I think it would. It would take away from some of the individual, but I think the trade-off would be worth it. I think what it would sacrifice would be outweighed by the benefits. I think.
Okay.
I need more time to explore around that area and then play it. So that's why I'm just thinking, maybe if there will be possibility, I would like to be play testing another time, just because maybe next time I would like to be the red or the yellow, and then when I'm trying all, then I'm going here and starting making the work.
And we'll bring two better people.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate
Thank you
the
very
time,
much
the
for
comments. Other than you losing, hope you enjoyed it somehow. Yes, I do have one last question. You're going home, you're going somewhere else. How would you describe this to your wife, to your partner, to your mom, to your friend? Like, what did you do today? And you're going to tell them what?
I would compare it to having played some sort of board game with the storytelling, and you control this character, and you had there was a lot going on. So you had the story playing in your ear that was your own aspect of what was generally going on. I guess I would say this.
Okay. How about you guys?
I would say it was I had an interesting experience, like a physical video game. So like I'm following the audio of a video game, but doing the things physically like a board game.
I would say that I won't spoil it for you, and it's better to try.
Okay. Good. Awesome. Guys, thanks again.
No
really
worries.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, you're the last group